Welcome back, everyday Americans. You've rejoined the Constitution study, and as promised, I have with me Adam Steinberg. Adam Steinbaugh. Sorry about that. He is an attorney with the Foundation for Information. Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression.
Correct.
All right, and we're here to talk about the lawsuit that Fire is running for Ms. Rebekah Massie. So first off, thank you very much for your time. I know you're busy, you've got a lot going on. So I appreciate the time you spend with us here at the Constitution Study.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, tell us a little bit about what happened to Ms. Massey and what led to this lawsuit that Fire has filed.
So, Rebecca is a libertarian activist. She lives in the Surprise, Arizona, or the city of Surprise, Arizona, which is a interesting name for a city. And she's a local activist. She cares about her community, and she went to a city council meeting to comment on a proposed pay increase for the city attorney. So the city was saying, we're going to offer our city attorney more money, and she thought that was a bad idea, and she wanted to explain why. Now, a lot of cities will, at their city council meetings, invite people from the public to come and share their feedback. And that's what we want as a culture, as a society. We try to foster the ability of people to go and be involved in their local affairs. And one way of doing that is through commenting at city council meetings. But within a couple of seconds of her talking about this proposed pay increase and why she thought it was a bad idea, she gets interrupted by the mayor, who says, "You're violating a policy." And he holds it up in his hand and says, "You're violating this policy that you agreed to, that says that you can't lodge complaints about city officials at city council meetings." And she rightfully points out that, the First Amendment protects my speech. And the mayor just wasn't having it. He called over the police officers through the police chief, and they dragged her out of that meeting and wound up citing her and arresting her for the crime of lodging a complaint about a city official at a city meeting. And if you've not seen this video, it is risible. It is your blood pressure will rise.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now, I want to talk a bit about the First Amendment, but because I have some concerns about that, again, looking at the Constitution itself, but the very idea that you're there to petition the government for a redress of grievance. You think this is a mistake, you're telling me that a policy at a city council meeting supersedes the constitutions of both Arizona and the United States?
That is not how that works.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because I did something weird. I actually looked up the Arizona State Constitution, where it says in under Article 6, it says, I'm sorry, Section 6, every person may freely speak, write, and publish on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of that right. And then we have there's another one I was looking at. Section 5. The right of petition and of the people to peaceably assemble for the common good shall never be abridged. Well, that's an abridgment of her right to petition the government, is it not?
Yes, yes, it is.
So for that standpoint, and the reason I bring that up, I absolutely agree. We have to be involved in our local governments. That's where we have the most power, the most influence. It's extremely important. And in fact, I'm dealing with something in my local county right now that's been a lot of fun. But here's the concern I have, and that is I know the courts have said differently, but the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion or prohibiting free exercise there, or abridging freedom of speech of the press, or the right of the people to petition their government for a redress of grievance. So my concern is, if the First Amendment says Congress, and again, not an attorney, I don't play one on TV. I know the courts have said that the 14th Amendment means that that now applies to the states, but the language simply says Congress shall make no law. So that's one of the questions I want to bring up, because that's something I see when I'm looking at these on my own.
Right. And you rightly point out that it's the 14th Amendment that really applies here. Now, we talk about free speech and we refer to the First Amendment offhand as sort of a stand-in for protecting freedom of speech and that specific right. But really, it's a 14th Amendment right that's being violated here, because the 14th Amendment says that the states cannot violate your constitutional rights or your God-given sort of rights.
Right.
So, there is some, there is a sect of thought that criticizes that and says that no, there should be no incorporation of those rights against the states, or there should be, some other constitutional mechanism for protecting those. But that's the way the law has been for
Well,
for a very long time.
it's the way the courts are because again, Constitution, supreme law of the land, it
Mm,
didn't change. And I know, I know you're an attorney. Your job is to do what is best for your client.
mm,
I'm not here to challenge that or make a change, but these are questions that I bring up because I'm curious
mm.
as a constitutional scholar. Which brings you to another interesting question because I'm assuming you're suing under 1983, correct? All right, for those who are not aware, Section 40, Title 42, Section 1983 of the United States Code is the law that says you can sue actors for violation of or deprivation of rights under color of law. Has any thought been given to filing a complaint under 242?
I am not familiar with 242 offhand.
Title 18, Section 242 means that a criminal event. That's a criminal statute. So that could actually involve a fine and up to a year in jail for deprivation of rights under color of law.
Well, I mean, if it's a criminal law, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not a U.S. attorney. I can't bring criminal charges myself. So I live in the land of Section 1983 because that's where I'm allowed to bring actions,
Right.
and those are
And
the type of actions that we use.
my point isn't whether or not you could actually do it. It's really a question of in your discussions with your clients.
Mm.
Some activities would this rise to a criminal act? Well, possibly. She was arrested. She was dragged off, and I'd love to hear what happened after that. But is any consideration given for the criminal aspects of these actions?
I don't think so. Normally, because it's just unlikely that governments will go after government actors. Our constitutional system is so, or at least the way it's interpreted, is so built up and backed up with immunity upon immunity upon immunity built into this system that even getting civil liability against someone for violating your constitutional rights, that's an uphill struggle. So the notion that you're going to be able to get criminal charges levied against someone for violating the Constitution, it's just extremely unlikely. Now, I certainly think that government officials should face more pressure to conform to the Constitution and to protect constitutional rights. But I'm a civil lawyer, so
Yeah.
I use the tools that are at my disposal.
Absolutely. And again, you're an attorney. I'm not. I ask because I'm curious.
Well,
I wonder things because again, I see violations much more egregious, and I'm always wondering why does nobody ever consider that? Maybe it's because it's not in their wheelhouse. So,
Well,
I
I mean, to be fair, sometimes you do see the federal government step in and impose a liability for violating constitutional rights, but it's usually on a police department or a government municipality, not specific individuals,
right.
or at least not specific political figures. Maybe sometimes you will see if there's a particularly egregious violation, meaning one that results in death or severe bodily injury, you might see some sort of criminal or a higher level civil action by the federal government taking place.
So as we said, we left off with Ms. Massey she was arrested. What was she actually charged with?
She was charged, ultimately, she was only charged with trespassing, but there was some discussion about whether or not she would be charged with disrupting a public meeting, which, how do you disrupt a public meeting by talking? That's not, that's not how that works.
Talking
Uh,
during your public comment period.
Precisely. It'd be one thing if she marched into a meeting and during the preamble or whenever the mayor is speaking, she's just started spouting off about something irrelevant. Yeah, maybe then she's disrupting a meeting. But this was the specific time where she was asked, "What are your thoughts?" And she shared her thoughts, and they arrested her for it. But So what happened after that is she gets arrested, she gets charged, and then because of the potential conflicts of interests of the city bringing these charges, the charge got kind of bounced around from different prosecutorial offices or different prosecutors' offices. And ultimately, there was a motion filed by her criminal defense attorney to dismiss these charges with prejudice because the prosecutor wanted to drop it, but wanted it dropped without prejudice. And the criminal defense attorney said, no, 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 no. We don't want to leave you with the ability to bring these charges back against her sometime down the road. And ultimately, a judge agreed, and the judge put the city on blast, saying, she was exercising her rights, and just watching the video, this is outrageous. Even though the city was not asking a court to intervene here or to rule here, the court said, nope, you were going to hear me out, and essentially read them the riot act as to why this was a violation of her rights.
So and again, for those unfamiliar, because I know not everybody is, the difference between prejudice and not prejudice means it's been assigned under the Fifth Amendment. The you can't be tried twice for the same crime.
Well,
Uh,
it's
the double
I don't
jeopardy rule. That's what I'm thinking of.
I don't know if it arises under the double jeopardy
Sure.
rule, but what it does mean is that you can't be tried twice for this specific offense. And in Arizona, at least, and again, I'm not a criminal litigator. I work in the civil field, but uh, the judge wanted them not to be able to bring this back up again.
Right. So it's dismissed with prejudice. How long did that take, by the way? And what did it
Uh,
cost her to deal with that?
it did cost her out of pocket. I don't know how much offhand, but she's uh, uh, a criminal defense attorney is not cheap. It's not cheap for anyone, and it's especially not cheap when it's a penalty on your free speech rights. Those are supposed to be free, so I don't know how much that cost offhand.
So we are talking a pretty egregious violation of her rights, which this led to the lawsuit. Now, did she approach Fire? Did Fire hear about this and approach her?
Because the communications with her are confidential, I'm not allowed to say
Understood.
who started that dance.
Understood.
But I will say that plenty of people do come to us through our website, thefire.org/alarm, and ask for help there. But we also see things in the news and reach out to people and say, hey, we think that your rights are being violated. Can we help you?
Yeah, and that's one thing I love about Fire is you can reach out for help,
Mhm.
and that's a great thing. So where does this lawsuit stand at this point?
We have just filed an amended complaint. We have added causes of action relating to excessive force. And right now we are sort of in that early stage of the lawsuit where we've made our first move and we're waiting for them to respond to that. That might mean a motion to dismiss where they go to the court and say, Your Honor, we think that there's something wrong with the allegations here, and we want sort of a legal ruling, not a factual ruling, but a legal ruling about whether or not she's properly alleged something here. Um, or we could proceed right into discovery and then on the long road down to trial.
So this is early. I hope you'll come back and keep us informed of as this progresses. Obviously, as you can, your primary responsibility is to your client. I understand that, and my audience does as
I'm
well.
happy to make time.
But I think it's important that people around the country hear about these things. They
Mhm.
recognize that they do have power in action, and sometimes what they need is a little help. Sometimes they need a little guidance, and that's where organizations like Fire come in. So, one, you are more than welcome to contact me when something new comes up, and we'll be happy to discuss it. But also, tell my little audience about fire, and if they've got an issue, where can they reach out for help?
Sure. So FIRE's been around for about 20 years. We started as the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. And for most of our existence, we were focused on universities and colleges. So protecting students and faculty members when their speech was threatened. We are since then, within the past several years, we've changed our name to the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. And now we protect the First Amendment all across the country, whether it's on campus or off. We protect the speech of people on the left, on the right, speech that really doesn't fit anywhere on the political spectrum, because we believe that a nonpartisan defense of the First Amendment is what is important. The First Amendment protects views across the political spectrum, and so should we. Our website is thefire.org, and if people need help, it's very easy, thefire.org/alarm. Think about pulling a fire alarm. That's how you get help. So if you need help, if your First Amendment rights are threatened, or if you know someone whose rights are threatened, please get in touch with us.
Adam, thank you for your time. You're not the first fire guy I've had on here, but you're the latest, and I'm happy to help and be involved however I can. Again, you're welcome back when there's news about this or something else you'd like to share. But again, thank you for your time, and best of luck, good blessings with this, because this is the important type of work that needs to get done, and I think sometimes we forget about it.
Well, thank you for helping get the word out too, because it's, as you said, it's important that people know about these kind of stories.